Hey everybody, it's Cory from CoryBakerFilmmaker.com, and I just saw Always Be My Maybe, written by Michael Galmacho, Randall Park, Ali Wong, and directed by Nahnatchka. So no movie theater this week because obviously Always Be My Maybe is a Netflix release, so we had some people over, we had sort of a weekend fiesta with some leftover taco stuff, and we watched Always Be My Maybe, and it was a wonderful time. This movie in particular, something about romantic comedies fits so well in the streaming space. I think mostly because either it's replacing sort of like the date night, so like you stay in, you watch a romantic comedy on Netflix, or you have some people over and you just have fun. Like you'd want to put on a comedy for that sort of thing, and this one just really was wonderful. So good on Netflix for putting it on the air, and good on you for checking it out. So Always Be My Maybe uh, follows the story of Sasha and Marcus, who were friends together in San Francisco as children, and they sort of had a separating after they had lost their virginity to one another, and they reconnect 16 years later, and as Sasha is trying to open up a brand new restaurant in San Francisco, and Marcus is still the same person he was the last time that she encountered him. I love romantic comedies. I always have. I always will. It's just one of those things that, like, I think that it's such a great vehicle to show potential in somebody. And romantic comedies that we used to have all the time would elevate people, would make people bigger stars. Like, if you think about the great romantic comedies that used to go on, these would be the mid budget studio movies that would allow us to see somebody up and coming, in a sense, somebody who has a star on the rise. And I think that Randall Park and Ali Wong are the exact example of the type of people that we used to get in romantic comedies when they were making romantic comedies. Now, Netflix has a wonderful place in the space where they're able to make these sort of mid-budget movies, these low-budget movies, and just fill up their platform with them. Whereas, the major studios now don't really have a need for it. So, Disney doesn't need to make a $20 million, $10 million movie, because they can make $1 billion movies that make, billions of dollars in revenue. So it doesn't really matter for them. But like the Netflix is basically taking the space of New Line and Dimension and United Artists and Miramax and all these companies that used to make these lower budget but wonderful romantic comedies. And I'm just really happy that we have something that sort of takes me back to the golden age of that. So on that point, our two leads, Ali Wong, Randall Park, both of them who have made very nice names for themselves and like their own career so far. Ali Wong mostly as a stand-up, and Randall Park has been in a ton of different things. He's got one of those like, oh, I've seen you in something faces, but he doesn't really like have any like huge starring roles other than right off the boat. Fresh off the boat, which I haven't seen, so apologies. But I mean, he does. He has such a wonderful like guy next door chemistry to him, and he's a good looking guy and very funny. Great timing. Ali Wong too is wonderful in this movie. She's very winning. I never saw her stand up either, so I'm coming in pretty blind. I'm aware of these people, but I haven't seen them work before, and both of them did wonderful jobs in this. I was really impressed, and I think Ali Wong has a nice little acting career ahead of her. She just hit it in stride without any problems whatsoever, and I really admire that. A lot of other great people in this thing too. Keanu Reeves kind of steals the show about halfway through. He has a wonderful cameo that I don't feel like, he's in the trailer, so I'm not like spoiling anything too big there. Daniel Day Kim has a nice little role in it. Karan Soni, who I love, he was in the show Other Space, which I really dug. It was like a Yahoo show, but and he's good. He's like in like a lot of things. He's another one of those like I recognize your face type of things going on. Michelle Buteau was very good. And James Saito was very good. It's just like a good overall cast, and when you have something that's well written and allows the people that you put out there to try and do their best work, it just works. And that's what happens here. You get a lot of talented people and it works. One thing I really enjoyed about this flick is that it's common in romantic comedies that, like, you're making jokes, so you're trying to make fun of something sometimes. But this movie kind of like was able to weave between the lines of we're making fun of something and we're respecting where it comes from, kind of thing, which like when they're talking about like sort of like the high-end restaurants that you go to with little tiny plates and little tiny dishes and like elegant art display kind of setups and things. At one point in the movie when they're all out to dinner, Keanu says, "Do you have a meal that transcends time itself?" And they say that we have something where you can listen to the animal that you're eating on headphones while you're eating it. And it's just like, it's stupid, and it's the type of thing you would expect to see if you went to like some high-end Vespertine kind of place. But at the same time, it wasn't like making fun of the desire of the people who are making the food to be artistic with it. So it was like making fun of how the presentation is as opposed to the people who do it, which is like it's a line that like if you might not notice it, but if you cross it too many times, then you're going to think the audience will start working against you. And it's really hard to figure out exactly how you want to sort of find these jokes without alienating the audience. Another thing was, I mean, there's a lot of talk about the diversity of this project. And I think it's wonderful. I never even thought twice about it. I will say that as somebody who didn't grow up in a place where there was a lot of Asian Americans, like when I went to middle school, there was 1,000 people in the school and maybe 10, 15 of them were Asian. So, I mean, like it just wasn't like something that I was exposed to a lot. And it seemed like there were a lot of things in here that were nods to people who have Asian American influences and background, but it never felt like it was like an inside joke that wasn't shared with people who weren't aware. Like there were little things that sort of tipped in the direction of this is a nod to our audience and a nod to, a largely Asian American audience who's probably going to be coming into this picture. But it wasn't, never did I feel like I was out of sorts. And I thought that's another like line that just like you gotta be respectful of the fact that not necessarily everyone in the audience is at the same place as you are. And this does a wonderful thing of being very respectful of that line, but also being very welcoming of people who don't necessarily know. So, I mean, like, if you have no idea who Randall Park is, no idea who Ali Wong is, you're from Baltimore like me, and you just don't have a lot of Asian Americans around, you never feel like this is supposed to be a movie for somebody else. This is a movie for everybody, and that's the best part about this and the romantic comedy genre is that it's welcoming. It's always trying to bring everyone in to be a part of it. And the script was very well done. It was very funny, very caring, like it was very sweet. It was a cute movie, and I don't say that to like put it down. It's just a really nice, sweet, cute movie. And just everyone gets to be involved, and it's just everyone's happy at the end of the night. As far as sort of like the technical aspects of it, I mean it's again talking about the genre that it's in. Romantic comedies have never really been things that push the technical capabilities of film that hard. So I mean, you aren't ever really usually setting up a camera in an unusual position. Everything is very motivated by the characters and the action on screen, and not motivated by some sort of feeling. I mean, you wouldn't ever see a romantic comedy that looks like it was directed by, like a Terrence Malick. Like, that's just not sort of how that particular genre plays. It's different in that regard, and so you never really get like super stylized looking shots. But I thought that everything was really nice. Like, so even when you have what would be sort of like a regular or normal everyday shot, they do great care to make sure that, you know, the lighting is exceptional and that sounds great. The editing is good and brisk and sort of keeps you moving with it. And yeah, I mean, like, there's nothing game changing here, but the fact that they hit the essentials so well is just like great. Like, you you did exactly what you were supposed to do, even if you weren't trying to push it. And that's you got to take that win like every single time. That's just day one. If you had a movie that looked this good, you win. That's just how it goes. Another thing I really dug about this movie, and it was sort of it was an undertow throughout the whole thing, but you know, Ali Wong is very successful. She's a big restaurateur. She's opening amazing, you know, like she's on the same level as, you know, your Gordon Ramsay, like, you know, releasing these, having high-end restaurants all over the world. And she does a great job of not becoming sort of a cartoon character of a successful person or somebody who wants what, you know, has a desire to get more out of life than what they're getting. She does a wonderful job of like painting this sort of like nuanced character, and at the same time, on the other side, Randall Park's character, who's in a like sort of funk rap band, is doing this great job of like, he wants to do good things, he wants to become more successful, but he doesn't exactly. There's a disconnect. He doesn't quite get it, and one of the things that people keep pointing out to him is that, you know, they need to expand their reach, and like, you know, people are asking like, you know, well, do you play any festivals? Are you playing here? You know, have you ever done this thing? And it's like, no, they've only played really in this one little section of San Francisco. Like that's their niche. But it's like he realizes that there are better things. He just doesn't know how to do it, and he sort of he feels the comfort of not stretching out. But there's you can always tell that he has the ability to do more, and Ali Wong's pushing him to do more. And eventually, like, he's able to figure out how to do what he loves and feel comfortable and expand his base and everything like that. It's a really wonderful subplot of the whole thing that I think that maybe gets missed upon watching this a little. I flew here all the way to New York to tell you about the leaderboard. Caught this movie at home on Netflix, so up there for that one. On to the movie leaderboard. I really like this flick. You know, it's hard for me to say from the perspective of... So, I mean, like, anytime that anyone gives you a rating, it's going to be influenced largely on the things that they like and the things that they wish to see. And a good version of something that they like is always going to get rated better. Like, you know, like, I'm not a big fantasy sci-fi guy. So, you know, even if it's a movie that I think a normal person would rate like an 8, somebody who really likes fantasy and sci-fi, it's going to be lower for me because I'm not as into it. And I love romantic comedy, so it's going to be hard for me to, like, you know, it always feels like there might be a little bit more of a bump for that. I think as far as the fun that you have while watching this, my rating would be very appropriate. But again, it also sort of feels like it's not breaking any new ground here. The best romantic comedies are all about the people who are in it, the script, the way that it's directed, the way that, you know, the way that the whole thing feels as a piece. And this one really nails it. So I will give Always Be My Maybe an 8.2. A lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. And if you have a lady, a man in your life who you want to cuddle up with on the couch and watch a movie, this is hard to beat. It's really cute. It's really nice, really sweet, and would definitely recommend that you go check it out. I would also recommend that you check out my website, CoryBakerFilmmaker.com, at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.com/CoryBakerFilm. This review and all other reviews are also available as a podcast. If you go to anchor.fm/CoryBakerFilm, it'll give you links to where you can find the podcast on your podcatcher of choice, whether that's Apple or Google or Spotify or wherever. It's all available right there. Easy way to find the way you want to go. And if you like this review, give it a like, give me a comment, or reply to all the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more, and tell friends, because that is how these things grow, and I appreciate if you would do that. Anyway, if you don't mind, I have to open up a restaurant with little tiny lettuce cups filled with little tiny radishes filled with little tiny Asiago cheese shavings.